Zootopia is one of the cutest and heartwarming films from Disney's recent years. But did you know that the original story of the film was completely different? And so dark and heavy that it didn't even seem like a Disney movie? Zootopia was quite a lighthearted movie, right? The Animal City works really well, with each species fulfilling roles that make sense for their personalities and exploring the coexistence between predators and herbivores. But there was an original script for the movie that was completely scrapped. And while it was actually a really good story, it had a tone that was a bit too sad and violent for the type of audience they wanted to reach. The idea was that predators would be forced to wear shock collars to control their carnivorous impulses. But the collar didn't just activate because of violent instincts. Any strong emotion, even happiness, triggered the shock. Imagine getting the news that you're going to be a parent and getting shocked for being happy. This forced the characters to repress their emotions and live in constant anxiety. Crazy, right? This script got pretty far into production, with test scenes nearly finished in CG, and even the actors' voices already recorded. So grab your walking collars, because today, we're going to take a walk through another discarded Disney story, the original Zootopia script. The end of this story will totally surprise you. It's time for another video here on Zigzag. The gentle collar was central to the original plot, functioning as a shock device for predators that would activate when they experienced strong emotions, whether positive or negative. This device imposed a social division where predators had to suppress their instincts to coexist with prey. The story sets up a dystopian zootopia where prey hold the power and predators face systemic discrimination and oppression. It was really bizarre. The predators were usually calm, minding their own business, and were disrespected by other animals just for being predators, even though they never even showed their fangs to others. Zootopia was depicted as a segregated police state where prey received preferential treatment and predators lived in poverty and suffered discrimination. Predators were denied equal opportunities, and their behavior was rigidly controlled by the fear of the gentle collar, which made any display of emotion a painful experience. Can you imagine that? The protagonist is the same as the final film, Nick Wilde, and here he is, the predator who struggles against poverty and rejection. He lives in a rundown basement and survives with small hustles. After witnessing the struggles faced by predators, Nick comes up with an idea for a place called Wild Times, an amusement park that serves as a safe space where predators can temporarily remove their collars and express themselves freely and have fun. However, he faces huge and somewhat obvious obstacles, as he can't get anyone to fund it, because all the people in charge of the money are prey, and they don't want to give money to a predator. Nick manages to set up Wild Times by disguising it as a clinic, exploiting a legal loophole that allows the removal of collars for medical reasons. Despite the initial challenges, Wild Times becomes a huge success, offering predators a much-needed sanctuary. A montage illustrates the joy of the predators experiencing emotional freedom for the first time, highlighting the impact of the park on their lives. Hey, if you're enjoying the video so far and would watch this movie in theaters, type #Zootopia in the comments. Judy Hop, a determined police officer, is tasked with investigating the unusual activity at Nick's clinic. Although initially suspicious, she is deceived by Nick's fake credentials and explanations, as pulling off hustles and deceiving prey was his nature. This was definitely a characteristic of Nick that carried over into the final version of the film. However, her persistence leads her to discover the clinic and document its activities, building tension about her next moves. Meanwhile, Nick pays his debt to Kozlov, the mobster who financed Wild Times, stabilizing his business. While Nick enjoys his success, a mysterious wolf attacks him, injecting a substance that causes him to become wild. Unlike the quick transformations in the final film, this version describes a prolonged and painful process for Nick, leaving his fate uncertain. The mystery of the wolf's motives heightens the tension and sets up new conflicts in the story. Can you imagine how tense it must be to slowly transform into what people judge you to be, even though you are the complete opposite. It must be really bizarre. Nick's worst fears materialize when he finally breaks free from his confinement in a wild state. Unable to control himself, he starts attacking other predators. His loss of control coincides with the arrival of the police, who witness a predator without the gentle collar exhibiting violent behavior. Chaos ensues as Nick becomes a symbol of the stereotypes predators are trying to avoid, worsening the already severe social divide. Unable to stop or undo the damage, Nick can only watch as the situation spirals out of control. And because of the wolf's sabotage, his clinic was shut down, and he ended up getting arrested. In prison, Nick is forced to wear a new shock collar, which is even more painful than the one he suffered before. This cruel punishment becomes a central source of torment for him. Frustrated with his unjust imprisonment and the unbearable pain caused by the collar, Nick decides to escape. Although the details of his escape are unclear, and much of it wasn't fully animated, it's suggested that he uses Judy Hop's empathy and kindness to his advantage. When Judy realizes Nick is escaping, a high-risk chase begins, putting both her job and his freedom at risk, kind of pulling Judy into the situation, as if she knew what was going on, or as if she were involved. This movie would be so thrilling. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss videos like this one. A frenzied media coverage of Nick's actions highlights the social prejudice against predators. A moving quote criticizes the system, saying, "I don't fear an animal who was jailed because of its collar. I fear a world where it was forced to wear one in the first place." This shows how even within the story, some animals recognize how bizarre the shock collar is. Desperate for help, Nick turns to Kozlov, the mobster, again. However, Judy, still determined to capture Nick, intervenes by handcuffing herself to him. Nick manages to temporarily incapacitate her, but her persistence complicates his plans. When they finally reach Kozlov, Judy's actions lead to both of them being sentenced to the eternal sleep. During their time with Kozlov, they witness a domestication party, and this is such a bizarre thing. Look at this. This party is a disturbing ritual where young predators receive their shock collars as a form of social acceptance. The emotional weight of the ceremony is so heavy that you can't help but cringe for those cubs who don't understand what's going on. Amid the chaos, Nick and Judy manage to escape, but now they are both fugitives, which means they have to work together. Nick saves Judy during a dangerous and violent moment, and she finally realizes that, although he's a predator, he's not a monster. Thus, they recognize that their individual goals are aligned and decide to join forces to uncover the truth about the wolf who shot Nick. Following a clue, Nick and Judy visit Mr. Manchus, a taxi driver who took the mysterious wolf to several locations. Manchus reveals that the wolf frequented the Palm Hotel. However, before he can reveal more information, Manchus is attacked and goes wild after being shot by the wolf. The jaguar's fury forces Nick and Judy into a dangerous escape, with Nick's shock collar activating after he's hit. The two fall into a river, fighting the current. As Nick and Judy struggle to stay afloat, they realize they're approaching a huge waterfall. Despite efforts to escape the rushing water, they end up falling, leaving their fate uncertain. And the story ends on this massive cliffhanger. Man, I told you that you wouldn't believe the ending of this movie. We don't even know if they survive, or how the conspiracy mystery ends, or who the wolf is and why he's shooting at others. Good thing they changed that script, right?